Dozens of workers rallied at LAX. Find out why they decided to take a stand.
Amazon is increasing the minimum wage for all employees, but is it enough to support the high cost of living in LAX?
And the search for survivors goes on after a deadly tsunami in Indonesia. We'll talk live with an expert to see if a warning system would work if a similar situation happened in California.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
Workers at 40 airports around the world protested today for better wages. Good evening, I'm Roy Pinky.
And I'm Sophia Hausch. Dozens gathered at Los Angeles International Airport. ATVN's Brooke Becton talked to protesters.
Dozens of airport workers and union members gathered at LAX's Terminal 4 as part of a worldwide demonstration for better wages and working conditions. Airport workers, including wheelchair attendants and paging agents, talked about their frustration with airlines giving more work to outside contractors. Tim Maddox has worked at LAX for 24 years.
I would like to see the airlines respect our communities and put good jobs, make these jobs that we are able to take care of ourselves and our families with.
Other workers say they need wages that match the cost of living.
It's important for these jobs to stay middle-class jobs. It's important for these jobs to stay where you can have one job to sustain you and your family without working multiple jobs.
The global airline industry is a multi-billion-dollar business. However, according to the Service Employees International Union, nearly 30% of airport workers in the United States rely on public assistance to make ends meet. We reached out to LAX's Public Relations Division about today's protest. A spokesperson says they have no statement. U.S. Senate candidate Kevin De Leon stands in solidarity with airport workers.
Nobody in the wealthiest state and the wealthiest nation in the world who works full-time should ever be forced to live in poverty. Major airlines have to really step up, and they have to have a voice at the table and say, we need to treat these workers with dignity and respect.
Protesters say the public support is crucial. They're hoping to follow in the path of airport workers in New York who saw their hourly wages raised to $19 an hour last week. For Annenberg Media, I'm Brooke Becton.
Amazon delivered some good news for its workers. The e-commerce giant will be increasing wages to $15 an hour. But for employees in expensive cities like Los Angeles, $15 doesn't go very far.
If your goal is a living wage, the $15 number is likely outdated. And should be recalculated. And if you're looking at particular metro areas, which face, have super high housing costs, for instance, then there's probably a different number if you're trying to capture that living wage principle.
Every dollar counts for one Amazon employee who just moved to Missouri to escape the high costs of living in LA.
Everyone in my warehouse is pretty fun, and we get the job done as fast as we can. But it does get hot and it does get tiring. But with the promise of more pay in the future, then yes, I believe that everyone's going to be happy.
The higher hourly wage impacts more than 300,000 employees. It also extends to Amazon's subsidiaries, including Whole Foods and Zappos. Senator Bernie Sanders praised Amazon for making the change.
What Mr. Bezos today has done is not only enormously important for Amazon's hundreds of thousands of employees, it could well be, and I think it will be, a shot heard around the world.
Amazon says it supports increasing the federal minimum wage from $7.25. The last time it was raised was more than 9 years ago. The number of burglaries in USC student housing is on the rise. That's according to the annual security report from the Department of Public Safety. Robberies and burglaries have increased every year since 2015, while aggravated assault jumped from 8 occurrences in 2016 to 20 in 2017.
This year we showed a slight increase in residential burglaries, just one more than the previous year, but several more than 3 years ago. In several of those burglaries, the burglar went into a common area when the students were asleep in their rooms, but they didn't lock the door, and they presume things are safe and they leave them out in the open. So it would just really help us if students would do something as simple as lock their door.
After the 3 break-ins at Cardinal Gardens 2 weeks ago, Carlisle says DPS is working with Gateway Apartment Management to prevent these crimes. He did not mention changes in security for other student housing.
Rescue efforts are continuing in Indonesia after a devastating earthquake and tsunami on Friday. The natural disaster has killed over 1,200 people. The tsunami was generated by a magnitude 7.5 earthquake, which struck only about 10 minutes before the first waves hit. Many central areas of Indonesia's Sulawesi Island are destroyed. There are still almost 800 people severely injured, and the number of victims is still expected to rise. Indonesia's flawed warning system caused their recent tsunami to be even more devastating than it could have been, and it turns out California's warning system has similar issues. Here to explain is the founder of the USC Tsunami Research Center, Kostas Sinalakis. Thanks for being here.
Good evening.
So what does California's tsunami detection and warning system look like right now, and what would happen if we got a similar disaster to Indonesia?
Okay. Our warning system is based primarily on seismic detection. Once an earthquake happens and we know the size and the location and whether tsunamis were generated in the same region before, the whole system starts. Then we hope to have access, to get access to data, to measurements in the sea, in the open sea. As the tsunami passes by, it triggers what they're called dart buoys. It triggers a buoy and it sends a signal to the warning center. So the warning center puts all this information together, the earthquake information and the information from the sensors at sea, and decides whether to issue a warning or not. The problem that we have in California, which is very similar to what they had in Indonesia, is that we don't have enough sensors to cover all eventualities. For example, what happened in this case in Indonesia, the particular earthquake took place fairly far away from where there was a sensor. It was about 200 kilometers away. So even though they issued a warning, they canceled it prematurely. They canceled it and, because they thought the sensor that was very far away was not giving them any measurements. So they thought that there was no tsunami generated, so they canceled the warning as the tsunami is still advancing into the city of Palu.
Mm-hmm. So what improvements should we make and how would we implement those? What would be the process of implementing them?
First of all, the one thing that we should all know in California coastal regions, if we are on the shoreline and we feel the ground shake, move for more than 15 seconds, this means that's a strong earthquake, then we should immediately move to high ground, because there will always be cases, just as this, that there may not be enough time to have a warning, because if the earthquake is very close to shore, it takes a certain time for the earthquake to end, for the signal to go to the warning center, for the warning to come out. So we should all realize this and be always ready to evacuate. In terms of technology, clearly we need in Santa Monica Bay more transducers. We need to have a measuring device on the Santa Monica Pier. We don't have one. We don't have one in the Redondo Pier. We don't have one in the Venice Pier. In these areas that are so heavily populated, on summer weekends we have hundreds of thousands of people on the beach. Mm-hmm. We really need to do better.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Professor.
You're welcome.
If you want more information on the Indonesia tsunami or tsunamis in general, go to tsunamiresearchcenter.com.
Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh's acquaintances from his high school and college years are coming forward with contradicting information about the nominee's past. Our political anchor Morgan Stevens is here with new details.
That's right. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced the FBI will complete its investigation tomorrow, and the Senate Judiciary Committee will vote for Kavanaugh this week. This comes as new allegations about Kavanaugh's behavior while drinking has surfaced. In his testimony, Kavanaugh downplayed his drinking and denied sexual assault allegations.
I can unequivocally say that in denying the possibility that he ever blacked out from drinking, and in downplaying the degree and frequency of his drinking, Brett has not told the truth.
When he was asked by the officers whether or not he did it, he would not state yes or no.
He was very aggressive, very sloppy drunk, very mean drunk.
Today on the Senate floor, McConnell scoffed at reports of Kavanaugh's drunken altercation at a bar in 1985. Drinking alcohol is a common social activity among high school and college students. Some question whether poor decisions made as teenagers should be relevant to adult job seekers.
Well, it kind of depends on what they did. I mean, if they drank some beers or went to some raucous parties or drank too much on occasion, I don't think that's a problem at all, and they shouldn't be afraid of going into public life. If there are other much more serious things, then they probably should be afraid of going into public life, and they should be fearful that a private employer might find out about it.
A source close to Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who accused Kavanaugh of sexually assaulting her when both were in high school, says the FBI has not reached out to her for questioning.
Anyone doing business with the city of Los Angeles might have to disclose ties to the National Rifle Association. The city council will be considering the controversial proposal.
People like to demonize the NRA. They see that it's been
City
very
Council
powerful in
member
accomplishing through the
Mitch
political
O'Farrell
process and
is
through litigation various goals that some people don't approve of. But instead of just engaging in debate, they're trying to make it harder for the NRA to do business.
City Council member Mitch O'Farrell is the one who proposed the plan to disclose NRA ties. Supporters are confident the City Council and the mayor will approve the plan as a way to help reduce gun violence.
Doctors who prescribe opioids will now be notified if their patients die from an overdose. The new policy, approved unanimously today by the LA County Board of Supervisors, is designed to reduce drug-related deaths. Last year, 72,000 Americans died from an opioid overdose. According to the Centers for Disease Control, nearly half of those deaths were from drugs prescribed by a doctor. The new LA County policy is based on a successful program in San Diego. Death notifications will be sent to doctors starting in December. Los Angeles is set to receive $1.4 million from the Department of Justice to combat the opioid crisis.
Phone usage is causing tension between teens and their parents, but some students say their parents are to blame.
Tropical storm Rosa has caused flooding in the Southwest. Find out if its path includes Los Angeles.
And it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. See how DPS is getting involved right here on campus. We'll be right back.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 5 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
Got a quarter?
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. LA City Councilman Gil Cedillo knows how devastating the disease can be. His wife died from breast cancer at the age of 47.
Oh, there's a community of people who come together around this issue because it's the women who are impacted with it, but it's their spouses and their children and their parents, and so it's a bigger community of people who live with it.
Pink was the color of the day. Awareness advocates say they want to encourage men and women to take better care of their health and get regular cancer screenings.
Arm yourself with information, absolutely, to go and to find out your family history, to go and read as much as you can, to go do the screenings, to basically be on top of your own health.
On campus, DPS officers are wearing pink badges on their uniforms. For Officer Keith Alex, the campaign is personal.
I have several members of my family, including my aunts. They're suffering from breast cancer. I lost some of my family members, including my mother, about 25 years ago from breast cancer. So it's significant for me personally.
According to breastcancer.org, breast cancer rates in the U.S. began decreasing in the year 2000.
According to a study done by Health Affairs Journal, immigrants in America have been paying nearly $25 billion more in premiums to health insurers than they're receiving in care.
So let's talk about undocumented immigrants. He makes an argument that they are a drain on resources for the resident legal population. And this study showed that they use actually far less services than the rest of the population.
Immigrants make up nearly 13% of premiums, with around $1,100 per enrollee. This creates a deficit of $163 for every U.S.-born enrollee. While President Trump repeatedly fights the current immigration policy, this study contradicts the claim that immigrant patients receive more pay than they pay for in the American healthcare system. Well, it's October, but it still feels like summer to me.
It sure does, to me as well. Let's take it to Sherry for weather.
Well, it's looking pretty good. We're having some consistent temperatures here. Let's take a look at today's current forecast. Mostly cloudy with 73 degrees right now. And you'll see about the same across the area. Now highs across Southern California for tomorrow. We have in Big Bear 47 degrees, so chilly there. And then San Bernardino 62 degrees. Now moving along to Inland Empire, Thousand Oaks 59 degrees, and then Northridge 66 degrees. Right here in the USC LA area, you will find that Pasadena 62 degrees and USC 65 degrees, so bring your jackets with you. Now for our 5-day forecast, it's looking about the same as we look across the week. However, you will expect rain. It's about a 50% chance of rain on Wednesday, but for Thursday, it's in the 70s, and you can expect the same for the rest of the week up until Monday. So pretty cool and consistent with lows of 60s and 59 Sunday and Monday. 11 million people are under flash flood as tropical storm blankets the southwest with heavy rainfall. The storm is causing voluntary evacuation warnings as it travels northeast. Some areas are expected to receive up to 10 inches of rain. Thankfully, Storm Rosa will miss us here in the LA area. However, to an inch of rain this week due to a separate storm coming in Wednesday. So right here, as you can see in my graphic, right here, it's actually spinning from the Pacific Ocean, and it'll make its way right here to the LA area. So bring your umbrellas. This is likely to be our first measurable rain since May. That's it for weather. Back to you, Sophia.
Thanks, Sherry. A new study from USC Annenberg and Common Sense Media found that mobile device usage in the UK causes tension between parents and teens. Nearly 3 out of 4 parents said teens get distracted by their phones at least once a day. 22% of parents said teens' use of mobile devices cause daily arguments. We talked to some USC students who said their parents were bigger phone abusers than they were.
They really have a problem with me using cell phone all the time, especially if I do it while we're having a meal or we're just out for dinner or something. But it's like at times they do that too.
Oh, they're complete hypocrites. They do the same thing. I think a lot of it was, especially when I left home to come to school, and like when I get to come home and like we're having dinner, I'll start putting away my phone because I want to spend time with them, and they'll be using their phones at the dinner table now.
I actually track my mom, and she doesn't track me because she's really bad at replying, so it's just kind of easier. Like I can see where she is.
The study was compared to similar research conducted in the U.S. Far more American teens feel their parents spend too much time on their phones, and that use mobile devices has hurt their relationship.
I heard it's LeBron's first game at the LA Staples Center tonight.
Exciting times back here in LA. Let's toss it to our sports anchor, Robbie Aronson, for more.
Thanks, Troy and Sophia. We're going live for LeBron's first game at the Staples Center as the Lakers take on the Nuggets. Then, we'll update you on the MLB wildcard playoff game between the Rockies and the Cubs. And finally, we'll speak with a U.S. Women's Youth National Team player about her time with the Trojans. Let's take a time out. We'll be back with sports after the break.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right.
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Showtime basketball is finally back in LA. LeBron James makes his Staples Center debut tonight. Annenberg Media's Anwar Stetson is live at the arena. How's that, Mr. Over there, Anwar?
Thanks, Robbie. I'm outside the beautiful Staples Center here on Pico and Figueroa as the fans get ready for LeBron's first game here in Staples Center as a Laker. Now, the Lakers did play a preseason game on Sunday in San Diego where they lost to the Nuggets. LeBron had about 15 or so minutes and 9 points, but today the Lakers fans in person here at Staples are going to see him play live at 7:30. I actually have a fan, a LeBron and Laker fan here with me right now. Christian, come on in. Let's talk to you about how you like LeBron and how he's going to impact the Lakers. So tell us a little bit about how you think LeBron is going to impact the Lakers, Christian.
Well, LeBron's one of the best players to ever play the game throughout all time. So for sure, he'll make a really great impact on the Lakers and the young squad.
What do you think LeBron brings the most to the team right now?
He brings leadership, experience, and also on the court play. Like, he can do anything you need him to do. Play make, he can shoot the ball, he leads, like everything. You got the whole package.
So tell us, how do you think the Lakers with LeBron are going to do this year in a tough Western Conference?
It's going to be tough. I know a lot of people are saying that they're not going to do too well. They have their haters, but I mean, you got LeBron on the team, you got Rajon Rondo. They're going to do really good. They'll make the playoffs for sure.
And one last thing, what are you expecting to see tonight?
Tonight, I'm expecting to see Brandon Ingram put in work. I'm expecting LeBron to put on a show too.
All right, thanks, Christian, and thank you guys. We'll head right back to Robbie in the studio. Thank you.
Yep, just wrapping up.
And we'll be back.
Thanks, Anwar. The NL wildcard playoff is on now. The winner-take-all game pits the Colorado Rockies against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. Kyle Freeland starts for the Rockies and John Lester for the Cubs. Coming into Monday, the Rockies were tied for first place in the NL West with the LA Dodgers. They lost by a score of 5-2 in a tiebreaker. Colorado is 91-72 heading into the wildcard game. And the Cubs are also coming off a 3-1 tiebreaker defeat yesterday to the Brewers in the battle for the NL Central. The Cubs finished the season with 95 wins and 68 losses. Currently, the score of the game is 1-0 Rockies in the bottom of the second inning. The winner faces the Milwaukee Brewers in the divisional round on Thursday. Our reporter, Natalie Reddington, caught up with USC women's soccer player Tara McKeown earlier today. McKeown is also a member of the under-20 national team. They spoke about preparation for big games.
Even since I was young, you just gotta have confidence in yourself is what I've noticed, because when you go into the game timid and you're oh, this is a big opponent, you just have to know that you're there too, so you're on the same field as your opponent, and so you deserve to be there. And going into the game, I just get in my zone by listening to music on the bus. I have a playlist that I listen to every game.
After suffering their first defeat of the season at Stanford on Sunday, the women of Troy will look to bounce back in their next two games against Arizona and Arizona State this week. The Trojans are coming off their first Pac-12 South win and are heading into a bye week, giving them plenty of time to prepare for Colorado next weekend at the Coliseum. After a close 24-20 win against Arizona, the USC football team must aim to clean up their game. At practice this week, the Trojans should look to improve their discipline on both sides of the ball. After 18 penalties cost them 169 yards and 3 fumbles were lost. The Trojans will host Colorado in 2 weeks. The game is expected to be an exciting one. It will be a battle for first place in the Pac-12 South as the Trojans currently sit in second behind the Buffaloes. That's it for sports. Now back to Roy and Sophia in the studio.
Thanks, Robbie.
The Nobel Peace Prize in Physics was awarded today. We'll see why the winner is unique.
And a USC organization is helping students feel more comfortable in their own skin. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, Danny Trejo here. There was going to be a whole song and dance routine about how you should wait your turn to enter the train. But they got me, Danny Trejo, to talk to you instead. Look, when you don't wait your turn to enter the train, it's rude and potentially dangerous. And believe me, I know a thing or two about rude and dangerous. I'm Danny Trejo. Don't be like rude, dude. Be kind, like super kind. Excuse me.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Canadian physicist Donna Strickland is the first woman to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics in 5 years. She shares the prize with Francis Gerard Moreau. Strickland helped invent a laser that can grab particles, atoms, or even living cells. Strickland received a PhD in physics in 1985. Since then, she has developed an expertise in lasers, matter, and nonlinear optics. She won a Research Excellence Award in 1999, but nothing as big as today's Nobel Prize.
A USC organization wants to help you find self-love and body acceptance. The Student Assembly for Gender Empowerment is launching Body Love Month with a series of events throughout campus.
We're hoping to promote body love, self-empowerment, and positivity so that we don't feel so hindered by these toxic body ideals that we encounter in everyday life.
Tomorrow's event is called Intuitive Eating 101. On Thursday, there will be a screening on the village lawn of the documentary Misrepresentation. For details, visit Facebook at Sage USC. Thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Sophia Hausch.
And I'm Roy Pankey. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.